You've officially tuned in to the Epiphany Podcast, and I'm your host, Joanna Lynn. Thanks for joining me on my journey of spiritual growth, restoration, and most importantly, transformation. You've got a front row seat, so take my hand as we journey together. We're on the Epiphany, y'all.
All right, welcome to Epiphany Podcast with Joanna Lynn. I'm going to be your host today. I'm Larry Daniels, and I'm excited because we have a special guest. It is the marvelous, the hilarious, the wise, the beautiful, the one and only Joanna Lynn, and we're going to talk about her book today, and I am so excited. So I want to jump right into this. How you doing, Joanna?
I'm good. I love that hype up.
You know, I gotta hype you up, Joanna, because this is huge. This is huge.
It is huge.
Like,
it
you
is.
have written your first book.
Oh, Lord.
Your first book. Like, first of all, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Because, you know, obviously I don't want to assume that everybody knows me and who I am and what I do, but I am a publisher, and I had the privilege and the honor of helping you to publish this book. And I felt like we started our communication about this book like a long time ago.
Long time ago.
You know, to see you start off just in conversation and gradually progress and push and be persistent to the finish line, I just want to say congratulations. Okay, congratulations. So I'm excited. How do you feel about completing your first book?
It still doesn't feel real. Okay. Like, honestly, it doesn't. It's like, you know, like you said, it's been on my heart for a long time. Yeah. You know, and I kind of put it off and put it off and put it off and made excuses. And so now to say that I actually did it, it's like, I'm really doing this. I can't turn back. This book is really fixing to be out here.
It is. It is. So I don't really want to jump right into this, okay? Because I really want to talk to you about your book. So first of all, if you could just introduce the title of your book so everybody can know we're all on the same page.
The book is titled Overcoming, and then the subtitle is Trusting God Through the Process.
Trusting God through the process. Okay, so what can we expect from this book?
So first of all, overcoming. Okay. I mean, absolutely, it's about overcoming. It's about being in a place where you're down, where you're not where God wants you to be, and you overcome a problem, a situation. But the reason I chose trusting God through the process is because it's a process. And a lot of times when you hear someone overcoming or victory, you think about a quick battle or a quick war, and then you're won and you're done. But that is not what life is like. Overcoming problems in life are a process. And you have to trust God because it doesn't always feel like you're on the winning side. Right. So that's why I really want to kind of share it with everybody.
Understood. So let me ask you this, because this is where, when we talk about trusting God and overcoming the process, right? I think that a lot of people get discouraged because they hear this, but it's easy to say trust the process, you know, when it looks like you got everything together.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Or it's easy to trust the process, to tell somebody to trust the process if you've never been through what they're going through. Exactly. So with this book, is this just you encouraging people, or is this you actually sharing your process with the world?
It's a little bit of both. It's very emotional. It's gonna tell you about all the deep, dark, nasty truth about life. You know, It's not just, pray a little bit, worship a little bit, your life will get better. No, because even in prayer, even in worship, even in going to church, you don't always feel better. Oof. You know, that's the whole point. It is a process, and it's like a merry-go-round. Some days are good, some days are bad. So a lot of it is recounting my emotions through trusting God, through the journey, on the journey, everything I was going through, you know, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. Of course, it's intended to encourage, but it's also intended to highlight the reality that trusting God is not easy. It is not always fun, and it does not always make you look good either.
It doesn't always make you look good. Listen, I had the privilege of, and I'm not, first of all, I'm not giving anything away. No spoilers over here. But you mentioned something, and I had the privilege of reading through the book because obviously I'm publishing it for you.
Right.
But I got a chance to read through the book, and one thing I love about it is that you just said it, is that you write out the emotional experience of trusting God. And I think that when people hear trust God, they assume that I've got to trust God and be happy.
Yes,
You
like
know?
the strength and the boldness, a praying mother, a praying father. Well, nobody wants to see their mama cry. Nobody wants to see their daddy cry. But the fact is, when all the little kids go to bed, they're on their knees crying. Eviction notices are real. Job losses are real. Divorce is real. And to go into the world and always have to smile and pretend like everything is okay. And on the inside, you feel like your world is falling apart. So that's why I felt it was important to talk about not just, I went through this and this and that in a timeline, but how did I feel while I was going through it? Because a lot of times people don't know how to handle their emotions, especially believers or Christians. You trust God, so you just kind of got to let it go.
Right.
But the fact is, those emotions are very real and they don't go away. So I just kind of wanted to stab them, kind of, bring them out and talk about it, because a lot of people don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. And I love that your book, I really feel like your book is going to help people to come to the terms that it's okay to trust God and be angry. It's okay to trust God and be confused.
Exactly.
It's okay to trust God and still have some hurt.
Yes.
Not saying that you're always going to stay there,
right?
But I don't want to act like these emotions don't exist.
Because I feel like when you take all those emotions and you bottle them up and act like they don't exist, you become bitter.
Yes.
You get more angry. When you're not real with God and real with yourself and saying, look, I don't like what this looks like. I don't like what this feels like. How can God truly help us if we're not being honest with ourselves? And a lot of the time, it is not that He doesn't know, it's that we aren't admitting it.
Yes.
So how can we move something that we never wanted to admit in the first place?
Yes. That's so, let me tell you something. She an author, but she also a preacher, okay? No,
yes.
No, but that's true. Actually, get out your notes, okay?
Yes, please do. We don't have a 3-point sermon, okay?
Come on in here. No, but that's so true. And I just love your transparency in your book, because that's true. If you never face it, you cannot process it and heal through it. And I always equate it to going to, if you know that you're sick and you know what hurts in your body and you go to the hospital, right, and you never say anything about it,
right?
It's kind of like how the doctors are not mind readers, right? So, and if you're transparent with them, then they're able to deal with the issues.
Exactly.
Not saying that God doesn't know what you're going through, but when you're transparent to say, God, I'm hurt, I'm angry, I want to love you, I want to process what I'm going through, but I'm scared. He's able to handle that.
Yeah, but if you don't admit it, like you said, God knows it, but when are we going to say, okay, Lord, look, I'm just a little angry right now. I need you to help me. A lot of what we go through is about professing it with our mouth. You got to speak it. Even the negative. You have to be honest with yourself.
You have to be honest with yourself. I love that. Oh my goodness. I love that so much. So, okay. So you wrote this book, and first of all, what I love about this book is that it's really like a piece of poetry. That's what it's really like. That's what I told her. I said, this is very artistic and poetic.
Yes.
So, don't be trying to be nosy thinking that it's a tell-all book, because it's not, okay?
It's not.
It's not a tell-all book, all right? It is really, really, really an encouragement, but it's really poetic. So what do you want the readers, when they read it, what do you really want them to take away from the book?
Well, the thing is, understanding the artistry behind it is understanding where it came from. I never sat down and say, I'm going to write a book today. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. That's not how it started. A lot of what is in this book was journals and poems and things that I had been writing as I was going through my problems. And so that's why it's so important to me, because it's not that I got on the other side and was reflecting back on what I went through. A lot of what is in there is what I was feeling right in the middle of those moments. Yeah. And so that's why it is so poetic, and it does evoke emotion. And that's what I want people. I want people to feel exactly what I felt. And because if you notice, a lot of it, I talk about the lows and the valleys, but I also bring it up and I talk about what God did for me and how I felt after the fact. And that's what I want people to feel, because that's what life is like.
Yeah.
You feel down, and then you encourage yourself. Someone encourages you. You worship, or someone prays for you, or you have a revelation and God shows you another step to take, and then your life will start to improve.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can be on a forward track and you get knocked back a little bit, but you keep going. And so that's ultimately what the whole book is about. It's about getting knocked down sometimes, but you don't give up. You keep pushing towards what God has called you to be, what He created you to be, and what the vision He has given you in your life.
I love that. Let me ask you this question. So, like I said, you're very, you're transparent with your emotions throughout the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you find the strength to hope and believe in God to keep going through your own process?
And that's the part, a lot of what I was writing, I didn't feel like God was with me. I didn't for a very long time. Yeah. I believed in God when I was a child, but when I started to really go through some of the things I went through, I lost God.
Wow.
And for a long time, I felt like He wasn't there. I questioned Him. I didn't understand why. As a believer, I'm a good person. I never hurt anybody. I never cursed. I never, all the bad things I didn't do. So it's like, why am I going through this? I didn't understand. I honestly never got to the point where I was angry at God. I never got bitter, but I just didn't understand why I was going through all this and He wasn't with me. And it wasn't until after I got out of all the negativity and all the things I was going through when I really started to seek God the way I should have been, that He was able to reveal to me, I was with you the whole time. I really was in the fire with you. In every moment when you felt like giving up, when you felt like I wasn't there, I was right there, and that's why you didn't give up, because I was giving you my strength when you had nothing left.
Ooh. That's good.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I have to be honest and say, like I said, I didn't feel like God was there. A lot of the times I didn't. Yeah. But that's what I think the difference in kind of make or break, do you keep moving forward or do you give up? Do you actually give in to the depression and the suicidal thoughts, or do you make it out of that? God is the difference, because I can honestly say, if I didn't have Him, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
She said, God is the difference.
God is the difference.
Listen, watch your tone, because I almost started shouting. God is the difference. Yes. That is so true. Let me ask you this: because what I love about this too is I think that in the book, people are going to find not only to reestablish their trust and their strength to believe in God while they're going through their process, but I also think that this book is also going to be like, you're going to become like their friend, right? Like, yes. Okay, Joanna know what I'm going through, but let me ask you: as you went through your process, do you feel like you had people to help you and to walk with you through that?
No, not at all. Ooh. And that is why I had to rely so much on God. When I didn't even realize that I was relying on Him. That's the thing. I didn't have anyone. With everything I went through, I was isolated. I isolated myself from my friends, from my family. I had no one. And at that time in life, I was going through so much mentally, I didn't even feel like myself. I felt like a whole different person in my mind. I felt like I had two different versions of me in my head. The person that I used to be, or the person I was supposed to be, and the person I had become. And it's like they were battling constantly. Yeah. And so that was the thing. It was almost like the battle between good and evil. Yeah. Like which one was going to win. And I had nobody to go to for advice, nobody to ask for help. And that's why I'm so confident and I can say so boldly that God is the difference. Yeah. Because if He wasn't there, like I said, all of the evil, all of that would have taken over, because it was already winning. Yeah. The little bit of hope and faith that I had left was because of God. Yeah. Because He kept, I feel like He was pulling at me. Almost like when you throw a fishing line and you just kind of reel it back in slowly. It's like He was always connected, even though I was all the way, in the middle of the ocean. He was still connected to me. Yeah. And He just kept slowly reeling me back, showing me things, revealing things to me, and letting me know that He was still there.
Yeah. That's so good. Oh my goodness. I'm like, this is really good. Because now let me ask you this. Now I know you didn't particularly have anybody walk you, so you really did have to trust God through your process. So let me ask you, would you still advocate for accountability to somebody else that's going through their process?
Absolutely.
To get around. So
Absolutely.
how would they be able to get around people and share with them like, hey, I need some help while I'm going through this process?
Well, the thing is, towards the end of it, I finally did get back in contact with one friend that I'd known from years ago. And I was finally able to partially tell her the truth.
Yeah.
I was really too embarrassed and too ashamed to tell her everything. But I did kind of open up, and that was like a window, One time we had a conversation, and she was like, I don't know what it is, but I can tell you you're better than that.
Wow.
And so when I would go home and I would start to experience bad things again, those words stayed in my mind. You're better than that.
Yeah.
And so as I came out of it and came back to church and built relationships with amazing people, because my friends are like family now.
Yeah.
They were the key to me actually going from a victim to being victorious, to actually overcoming.
Yeah.
God pulled me out, but he used them to feed my spirit, to teach me who he was, to show me that it was possible. And I don't think that I could have done 100% of what I've done without the people in my life.
Yeah.
So it is important to talk to people. And I always say, watch who you have in your circle. Ooh. It's very important to have God-fearing, spirit-filled friends and family. Because you have those friends, you have those people in your life that will give you advice based on the world. And they'll tell you, oh, well, you're making a mistake, or, but these people that saw the real me, that saw who God made me to be before I even saw it for myself, those are the people that really made a difference in my life. That's and without them, I don't know. I don't know. I have to.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to kind of change gears really quick. So we talked about how, writing this book is two questions I want to lead to. The first one I'm going to say, we talked about how writing this book for you, you had to kind of buckle down, right? Yeah. You had to all right, let me put up my bootstraps and I'm going to write this thing, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to other aspiring authors that want to write a book but are like, I don't know if I can do this?
Well, there's two things I want to say. For one, it was a very spiritual thing for me. Like I said, I never intended to publish a book. Right. I never sat down and said, oh, I want to be an author. This sounds fun. I'm probably good at it. It was never that. I had been writing for years, and that was really the only thing that kept my sanity. Wow. And in prayer one day when God was like, okay, so I need you to publish a book. I was like, what? What am I going to talk about? And he's like, all this stuff you've been writing, like, people need to know. Yeah. So it was a shock to me. Yeah. And that's partially why it took me so long to actually complete it, because I was fighting it. It's like, I'm transparent with my friends, but do I really want to tell the whole world?
The whole world my business.
Like, not just my business, but how I felt, I felt about myself, how I felt unworthy and upset and depressed, and how I didn't want to live. Like, who just wants to boast about that,
Nobody.
No. That's like the parts of you that you hide from your own parents or your spouse. Yeah. You don't even want to tell them, like, your innermost feelings. And it was like, so now I have to tell the whole world? Yeah. Are you sure? Like, you're not speaking to the wrong person? Yeah. So number one, that was why I didn't give up, because even though I was procrastinating and I was trying to avoid it, I knew it was something I had to do. Wow. And the longer I stayed away from it, the stronger it would pull at me, like, okay, I'm waiting on you. Yeah. It's been 2 years now. I told you to do this. Why are you not doing it? So part of me felt like I wasn't complete because I didn't do what God had called me to do. It just...
Hold on, wait. Please do not that's so heavy.
It was very heavy.
That's so heavy. Did I just feel that weight just come on this podcast? She said I didn't feel complete because I wasn't doing what God told me to do. Watch your tone, Joanna, because you're saying some real heavy stuff right now. That's a word.
That is.
That's
a whole nother.
No,
Let's
heavy.
Wrap it up, okay?
Right. That's heavy. Wow. That's good. Okay, so to the aspiring authors, you're going to feel like if you really feel like God called you to write this book, you are going to feel empty if you're not doing what God called you to do.
So that's point number one. Point number two is more about being confident in yourself. It was not just not listening to God, but it was, is anyone gonna like it?
Yeah.
Are people even gonna buy my book? I'm nobody. Like who knows who Joanna is? Just some little girl in Beaumont, Texas, Apparently,
Yeah.
So in life, even in any type of industry, artistry, music, authors, you're gonna look at what you see. And when you see people like Christine Kane or Michael Todd, and they put out these books and they're like New York bestsellers for 9 weeks in a row, it's like, why am I really doing this?
Yeah.
Can I perform on their level? But so there was a sense of, like you said, I had to buckle down and say, you know what? But they were where you are today at one point.
Yeah.
Nobody in the limelight started in the limelight. They all started from somewhere. So I had to just say, you know what? You're not going to get better if you don't start.
Yeah.
And we compare ourselves to other people way too much.
Yes.
And so I just had to say, I'm going to put it out. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
Right.
And talking to one of my friends, I was like, the thing is, once they buy it, I've already made my money. So, it doesn't really matter.
She said, okay, well, you don't like it, keep it on your shelf, and I'm going to keep the money in the bank.
There you go. But I had to tell myself that.
Yeah.
I had to tell myself to quit worrying about what other people thought and just do what I knew I was good at, so...
That's so good. That's so good. But I think, too, along with the confidence, what I would encourage aspiring authors as well is to be confident in your voice and finding your voice and finding whatever it is that God, anointed you to do, right?
Yeah.
And, when you find your voice, there are people that are called to that voice.
Yes. And see, that's the thing, and that really resonates with me because of all the things that I'd been through. That's the one thing that was taken from me was my voice, my ability to defend myself or have an opinion.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is so important for me, because for a long time I didn't have a voice. I went from being bold and independent to being absolutely nothing like what I was. So now it's like teaching myself to speak again, teaching myself to walk again, retraining my mind to accept the fact that God gave you a voice for a reason. Yeah. It's to be used.
Right.
And so many times I doubt, even when I put like little encouraging things on my stories or my podcast, I never thought that so many people would reach out to me and say that they've been blessed or they've been helped or that they were going through things. And every day I get messages and I'm like, man, I thought that was no big deal.
Yeah.
Like I posted that day about my hair falling out because I'm anemic. I just thought it was really kind of stupid, but it was something I'm struggling with. I'm like, y'all, I need y'all's help. Multiple people messaged me, was like, hey, I've been going through the same thing. I didn't know.
Wow.
So how can we help each other if we're not talking about the things we're experiencing? Something as small as, your hair. Not that it's small, because I'm not trying to be bald.
Right.
But, compared to the scheme of things, versus all the other large life problems. But how can we get to that point if we're not vocal, if we don't use the voice that God gave us? So just chose to use mine.
That's so good. And it goes back to even what you said too about just being obedient to God, because I don't think that we don't understand the harvest or the impact that God can do or God can have on our obedience. So once we're obedient, we don't know what God's going to do with it. Right.
And that's the thing, because that's what I use to procrastinate. It was like, oh, I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, I don't have the resources. And it was like, boom, what you mean don't have the money? It's right here.
That's right there.
Boom, what you mean resources? Here's somebody you can talk to. When God calls you to do something, he's not relying on your abilities. He's going to provide it all to you. That is exactly what he did. And that's how I knew. It was like, it's undeniable. I can't say that this is just something that popped into my head, because too many things were lining up to facilitate this actually coming out and happening. So it's being obedient, man. God will surprise you.
Yeah, he will. I'm mind blown. First of all, I absolutely love talking to Joanna, and I love because first of all, we can talk and laugh all day long,
Yeah.
literally all day long. But what I want to do though is I want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else that you would like to share about this book that you want the viewers to know, that they can anticipate, that they can expect? What is it that you want them to know?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna need you to get some tissues ready because you will cry, probably. But I just want everyone that reads it. For one of my biggest goals in writing this was not just to appeal to the believer or the Christian
Right.
crowd or people. You know, for instance, like my basis for writing it was because I had been through domestic violence.
Wow.
And I've said that to everyone. I was like, I don't want to be a poster child for domestic violence. Like,
Right.
I advocate for all type of support groups, but I want anyone to be able to read this. A believer, a non-believer, a drug addict, someone that's been raped, someone that's, saw their parents commit suicide. I want anyone that has been through something to be able to read it and to be able to receive and be hopefully healed, encouraged, or delivered from what they're going through.
Yeah.
So I was very intentional about what I would write, exactly how I would say it, and my biggest prayer is that it helps somebody.
Yeah.
Just one person is good enough for me. I just think about the young girl that I was when I feel like I was on the right path, and then I just kind of got yanked to the side.
Yeah.
And I think about what would be different if I had someone, just a mentor or a teacher or even a friend that would have been like, no,
right.
You're not going that way. You're going to stay on this course.
Right.
And so that's really ultimately what the goal is. That's what I'm hoping, that someone out there will read this or hear about it and it will change their life, Because it's not fun being 32 and looking back at the last 13 years like, man, what did I do?
Yeah.
Half my life is gone.
Yeah.
I've struggled with that. I look at all my friends and family who are married and have children and they have degrees and careers, and I'm like, I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
And I'm a grown woman, It's just not a happy place to be.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole trust in God comes in too, understanding that we don't live life based on the timeline that we've created for ourselves.
Ooh.
And that God can really take something and he can turn it around so quickly.
Yeah.
When I made the choice to finally leave that situation and try to come to a new life, like I had always heard, if you go through something for 10 years, it's going to take you 10 years to heal.
Wow.
And I really was looking forward to years worth of depression and sadness.
Oh,
and
I've never heard
I
this. Interesting. Wow.
I just didn't know what to expect, coming from life as you know it into seemingly having options and possibilities, but not knowing what lies ahead.
Yeah.
That was scary. And being able to actually say, okay, I'm going to follow God. I'm going to do what God asked me to do, but not focusing on where He came from. I struggle with that, focusing on what I've been through. I felt like when I walked into a room, everyone saw it. I felt like it was maybe a costume, or like my skin was tinted. Like everyone could look at me from across the room and say like, oh, she's been hurt. Oh, she's been through something. But now, because God has completely restored me and transformed my life, not just in my mind, but in my heart and my spirit.
Yeah.
When I walk into a room, people see this.
Yeah.
And when I start to speak about it, they don't believe it.
Yeah.
They don't believe when I tell them there were days I drug on the ground, crying, didn't eat, didn't take a shower, just didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
But now they see the result, the end result. They see everything that God did, but they didn't get to see all the pain and suffering in between.
Yeah.
So that's really what the book is about. Just, overcoming, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want everyone to be able to overcome, but I want them to understand it's not an instant thing. It's not something that you just wake up and turn into a new person. You have to work at it. Yeah. And you're going to fail sometimes, and you're going to cry sometimes, and sometimes it's gonna be hard, but you can get there.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not perfect. I got a long way to go. I do. We all do.
Well, I'm about to say, I know I do. I'm like, listen.
But it's good to know that all the work I did wasn't in vain.
Yeah.
To be able to sit here now and look at who I was 2 years ago versus today, sometimes that enough is like, God, I'm going to praise you for all the days of my life.
Yeah.
You know, just seeing you bring me through all of that. And I can only imagine what's up ahead.
Right.
That's the thing
he's
about
done
it.
this much so
Yes,
far.
he did
What's
it
next?
so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like I remember those things, but it's not the basis of how I live now.
Yeah.
And I thought it was something that was going to haunt me forever. And it's almost like if you remember watching a movie when you were a little kid, you remember it, but it's way back.
Yeah.
It's not something that affects me every day.
That's good.
And that is something I just thank God for. That's all I can say.
That's good. It sounds like you living like in the Manessa blessing. It's like the Lord poured out where you just forget about what you went through.
Exactly.
So that's amazing. Well, listen, Joanna, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you for doing this. It has been an honor to just walk through this process with you as you wrote this book, and now it's out and it is available. And I want to encourage you, if you are able to pre-order, you're able to pre-order the book. And it is available on Joanna Lynn's website, and that information I'm sure is going to be on the screen provided for you. But I thank you so much for joining us.
I want to thank you too, Larry, because I don't think you realize, you know, as a friend, someone who throughout this whole process, that was so important, where I had kind of put the book to where, like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I got bigger and better things to do. And you would just text me, like, when you doing this book? Hey, sis, I thought you said you was contacting me.
Well, I thought you was gonna what was going on?
Yeah, it's like keeping me in line. That is so important, to have people in your life that hold you accountable. So it has been an honor to work with you, not only as a friend, but professionally. It's been so good. It really has. So I'm just excited.
I'm excited too. Listen, order your copy of Overcoming Trusting God Through the Process today. Pre-order, make sure that you get it. And I promise you it's going to be a blessing to your life. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. And we cannot wait to meet with you again.
What happens when you have nothing left? Nowhere to turn to, and absolutely nowhere to go. Life has the reputation of being the most complex equation you'll ever attempt to solve. The answers aren't always crystal clear, but I guarantee you it is right there waiting for you. Navigating your path gets frustrating at times, but it gets easier when you have people to share it with. I've found liberation and healing by sharing my journey with those around me. It's inevitable for me to stumble and fall, so the least I can do is redeem myself by helping you through yours. Take a moment to see life through my eyes. Open your heart as I express some of the deepest emotions and the darkest points in my life. Not only the heartbreak and the pain, but the joy and the praise, my desires and my purpose. Hear me as I talk about the struggle of trusting God through the process. I encourage you to choose today. Open a new door full of endless possibilities. It may feel like you're not strong enough, but that's okay. We weren't created to be perfect, but we do have the victory. This is Overcoming. Epiphany Epiphany family, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, not just for following me on this podcast journey for the last year and a half, but for tuning in today to not only hear my announcement, which is amazing. I hope you are praising God like I am, wherever you are, whether you're in your house, whether you are in your car. I need you to throw up a quick amen. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Because as you can see, getting to this place has been so hard, but it has been so worth it. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Again, as Larry said, the book is now live. Pre-orders starting tonight. As soon as you come off of this video, I want you to go to the website. It's www.iamjoannalynn.com. Place your pre-order, okay? Make sure that you share, you tag, you let everybody know. Not only do we have a podcast, but now we have a book for you to order and to share with the world. Thank you all so much. I love all of you, and I hope you have a great night.